From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. Today I have on one of my very best friends, Heidi Savell, who is a very special person to me and also an amazing polyamory coach. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you. I love having these conversations with you, both on and offline. So I'm super thrilled to be talking about this today.
It's always so fun to get to see you an extra time because we're doing a recording. So
Totally.
we were thinking that it would be fun today to talk a little bit about fashion and what happens when you realize that you've been dressing in some way for the male gaze and you have no interest in doing that anymore. And then what happens to your style?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm super excited to talk about this because this has been like an evolution for me over almost the whole time you've known me. And yeah, you've got a front row seat to my style evolving as I'm really kind of realizing the extent to which I was dressing for the male gaze and then learning what it means to move away from that. And then like what it means for me. And then exploring like outside of that, what do I even like to wear? What kind of clothes do I even like to put on my body? It's like kind of starting all over in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it could be helpful. I mean, so many of the women that are in my BiLife community are going through this where they're all of a sudden kind of like, my God, like I might just cut my hair and wear sneakers and baggy pants and a sweatshirt. They're like, and that feels good. Like I want to go shopping, and I think I had posted something about queer hairstyles. There was like an Instagram or TikTok and I posted that and it kind of spurred this excitement for people to like let go of this fashion sense that really didn't feel like them. Like they really didn't feel embodied in it. So I'm a little bit curious just about your experience. Do you remember there was a moment where you said to me, I am really not interested in dating cis men.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I'm really only going to be dating queer people. And there was like a little bit of a fashion thing happening for you at that moment.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like tell me a little bit about how your initial fashion sense came to be before this need to like, oh shit, I need to change the whole thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've thought so much about this and that's such a good question. So I think, what I learned about getting dressed and putting clothes on my body was really about like wearing stuff that's flattering. And flattering often meant looking as small as possible.
Okay.
And, highlighting my best features. And I say that in heavy scare quotes because, it's like, it's this idea that in some ways it's like we self-objectify. Like, these are my body parts that are, think about like the language the fashion magazines use. Like, these are my good body parts and these are my problem body parts. And so a lot of it was focused on like making myself look smaller or thinner or more like, I don't know, like feminine, right? And like that was so much of what it was about. And it was like, look feminine, look sexy, but don't stand out too much. And, look as small and flattering and like palatable as possible.
And did you get that message? I know that it is out in society, but did you also get that message in your family of origin?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some fucked up ways, sadly, but like some, I think, yeah, from my mom, and she meant well, but she was like teaching me how to wear clothes and she was teaching me what she knew and what she had learned. And, definitely like my parents made comments about women's bodies, not irregularly. Like it was pretty common. And, often it was about if they looked good or not good, or if they looked flattering, or, if something didn't look good on them, or things like that, or like highlighting a certain body part. So I definitely learned like that there was a critical gaze on me, and
Uh-huh.
that I had to dress a certain way to be appealing to that gaze and not get disapproval or like lose, even I would go so far as to say like value or worth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so familiar, and it's actually one of the modules I do is compulsory femininity.
Yeah.
It's a compulsory, it's like something we learn. And it's interesting. I mean, we learn it obviously mostly from our mothers and watching them and hearing what they said to us. But then also in this case, I don't know, I guess, in my case, it was like, yeah, my mom also, she had to wear like a full face of makeup to even go get the mail or something like that, but it felt like it was coming from my dad. Like it felt like it was this need to look like that came from more of his comments about people's bodies. Like I don't remember my mom ever commenting. By the way, she did comment on my body, but she didn't comment on like people out in the world
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that both your parents did that.
Yeah, they did. They did. But yeah, there was a lot of, to your point, there's a lot of messaging coming from my dad too. I mean, I don't want to get into like too much of the fucked up things that he said, but there was like one time I remember where he said like, "Oh, Heidi, like you have your mother's legs and I'm sorry about that." And
I
and
think
so
my father said something kind of like that too, which
really,
was that like I have my mother's like torso and she was very small breasted.
hmm,
And, but I don't remember him saying, I'm sorry about that. But it was like, you have like the same body type as your mother, kind
yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the implication was definitely like, well, sorry, you got the shallow end of the gene pool on that one. Like that's your cross to bear now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, which is just so, yeah, interesting to think about like the impacts of that and the messaging behind that.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, I'm just thinking as you're talking about this too, I'm thinking back. It's really interesting. My mom was like, she was like 5'8", and she had like a really slim torso, but then she was like a pear. I guess it's called a pear shape. She really came out like she had a pretty big hips and
Hmm.
like really like thick thighs.
Hmm.
And I just remember my dad like I don't know. It was almost something that he like really liked about her. He loved that there was something to grab onto. I did experience him talking about other women's mainly breasts.
Hmm. Hmm.
And my mom was so small breasted that it was just like, it was terribly embarrassing. Like I felt so bad for her when he would do it. And it was just awful. Like I hated it. But it's interesting because, she had this pear shaped body, I guess you would call it. And I never got that message that like, that wasn't okay
Mm.
or that there was something bad about that, which is kind of interesting.
Well, what's interesting to me about that is like, and I realize we're taking a detour and not talking about fashion at the moment,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
is so interesting
We're
too.
getting there. We're
We're
getting
getting
there.
there. Is like that, having like thick thighs and like wide hips is like a marker of femininity, right? Like,
Right.
so there is something in which that is like, oh, that is acceptable because that is feminine. And the chest comments, it's like, well, flat breasts is not really a marker of femininity. And so
Yeah.
that is, so I think in some
Yeah.
ways it all kind
It
of
still
fits
falls.
together.
It still falls in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to share a little about like what has changed for me in my relationship to clothes. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about you too. Like, I know it's been a long time for you, but I'm curious to hear from you what's changed about your relationship to clothes over time and,
Yeah.
as you
Yeah. Yeah.
divested from the male gaze.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I keep sliding into like more androgyny in terms of clothing. And like, so it's not really particularly gendered. It's not like feminine. It's not masculine. It's comfortable now, this kind of where I went, but that's not where I started. And it's not even where I was when I came out. When I came out, I had gone from being very disembodied. Like when I was younger, I was embodied. I felt I had my own style. It was a little edgy. It was like I don't know, it was like feminine with a tomboy edge or something like that. And then when I got married, I just kind of felt lost. Like I just left my body basically. I kind of felt like dead inside. And I struggled with fashion because I didn't really want to appear feminine, because if I was feminine, that was going to attract my husband. And I was so disembodied and I just wasn't in that space. And I hadn't realized I was gay. I didn't know. I just thought I was broken. So it was a complex time around fashion for me. And, I remember him saying things to me like, can you put on something nicer?
Mm.
Cause I'd wear like jeans and boots and a sweater or something. And he'd be like, can you put on like a skirt, or can you wear something nicer, like for business things with him and stuff like that? I always was very uncomfortable with it. And then after we separated and I came out, I went through this kind of like heightened feminine stage
Mhm.
where I felt so connected to my femininity, and I felt I wanted to like show it and feel it and be in it, like flowy skirts with ruffles and, I don't know, just like very, very, very feminine. And I think it was just me coming back into my body, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And so that felt really good. But what happened was my partner was more androgynous, and I was jealous that she was noticeably gay. So we'd be
Mhm.
walking down the street. Women would look at her. Everyone would look at her, and no one ever noticed me. And I was like, I want to be noticeably gay too.
Yeah.
I don't want to just look like a straight girl. And so it was really a number of years though. I mean, I think I've accomplished that. I no longer attract any male gaze. But it's been 25 years since I came out. So
Yeah.
it's been a process over 25 years. And I feel like I've arrived at like I honestly feel like I don't know if I could wear a dress or a skirt, which is not where I ever was before.
Yeah. It
Even
just
up to a
doesn't.
few years ago, I could still do it. I could still pull off like certain A-line skirt, things like that, which I think I probably still could. I don't know how comfortable I would be. I haven't kind of slid in that direction. I've been more just androgynous, kind of riding that middle line. So
Yeah.
that's been my journey with it.
Yeah, I love that story because I think part of it is like that our personal style evolves over a lifetime, and that's okay. And like what felt super authentic for you before, like when you first left your husband and came out, isn't the thing that feels authentic to you anymore. And like that we are all on a personal journey, and, we change over the course of a lifetime. And so our relationship to our bodies and our clothes and how we want to present to the world also changes over the course of a lifetime. And like, I love that because to me, when clothes at their best are like a creative expression. They're a way to like create art on our bodies, and it's a way to like communicate to the world like who we are, how we move through the world, like how, we want to be seen, and just how we want to present, what kind of energy we bring. And that has been such an eye-opening experience for me because I never used to think about clothes like that at all. In many ways, it was just like clothes are, I either look dumpy or I look attractive. And like, that's kind of like the one kind of slider bar. And God, like my relationship to both my body and clothes has opened up so much. Like, cause getting dressed used to be kind of like a chore and like frustrating and disappointing and like sometimes exciting, but in like that anxious sort of way, like, oh, I think I cracked the code. I think I win. And I'm not really having that experience anymore. Now it's like, choosing outfits and exploring clothes feels like play. It's like playing with color, playing with texture, playing with like structured clothes versus flowy clothes, playing with silhouettes. And I'm really playing a lot with like juxtaposition. So it was so interesting to hear you talk about like this idea of like dressing more feminine and then sliding more toward androgyny. Cause I feel like, I think I still present as pretty femme and probably always will to some extent, but I've been playing a lot. Like, I think I used to be like, I don't want to look too masculine, used to be like a way I would think about, and it really restricted my fashion. I don't want to look too masculine and I want to make sure I look flattering. And
What
those two
was the
things,
masculine piece about? Sorry to interrupt you, but what was I can't even imagine you looking masculine.
I think it
Where
was
did you
just,
get yeah.
well, I think it was just clothes choices, like, oh, if I wear these trousers or this button up shirt and I don't add like a feminine component to it, then I'm going to look masculine. And like, through the lens of the male gaze, that's not okay. That's not attractive. That's not appealing. And that was the lens. And so now it's like, I feel like I have so much freedom to play, and I'm really enjoying, especially playing with like the juxtaposition of something that's wearing a piece of clothing that's traditionally thought of as very masculine with something that's thought of as very feminine. And like that, like tension and the juxtaposition between the two, I think like just creates a lot of like visual interest and like texture and just something that like kind of catches the eye. And like, I love that.
My God, I love that. And it's so funny because like you're talking about that and that it's interesting because on one hand, I'm thinking like, oh gosh, I can't wait to see Heidi in 5 years from now because I'm wondering where that's going to go, because exactly what you're talking about is where I was for so long. And I feel like I've almost like dropped most of the feminine, like there always was like, for example, it would be a button down shirt, but the collar would have like a ruffle,
Mm-hmm.
and, trousers and a button down shirt, but the collar had a ruffle. So like it had something feminine to it, but it was like, it was playing with that combination, or like a scarf, or I don't know, like a thing in my hair. I love that. I love that little, whether it's like the accent. For me, I think the accent was usually more a feminine accent to something that was a little bit more, I wouldn't say masculine, but maybe androgynous, with a
Mm-hmm.
little feminine flair. And now I feel like I've lost all feminine flair. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Well, and I think I want to like, for your listeners, be really clear that like that's your journey, but like you can also hold on to your femininity and still be dressing outside of the male gaze, right? Like there is room for a feminine presentation outside of the male gaze, even though that's not where you've landed, right? And so like, but I think that's even interesting to think about, like, what does leaning into a femme or feminine kind of presentation look like outside of the male gaze, you know? And it's different.
yeah. And also like, with female partners that I've had, and I don't know, this gets into some interesting places too, is like I've had some female partners who have, they really enjoy like my normal place, but they actually really love when I like do a little bit of the feminine stuff.
Interesting. Yeah.
They're just like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
holy shit. And it does start to like move a little bit into that. Like you could call it moving into the male gaze, but maybe it's not. Like maybe it's not. Maybe, I don't know. Like I don't find like super femininity very attractive. So I don't know what it is that they're experiencing in those moments.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, is it the male gaze? Is it conditioning? Or is it just natural attraction? Like
Right.
it's interesting to think about.
Right. Because I think we can fall into a trap of thinking that like performing femininity in any way is like the male gaze, but like anything that's compulsory, it's not that the thing itself is bad. It's that we were handed it without being able to critically think about if it was authentic to us. Right. And so
Exactly.
you can release the male gaze and then come into your own and find like, oh, there are elements of a femme presentation or feminine dressing that like feels so authentic to me. And that's great. But is it yours that you got to choose, or was it handed to you without you having any choice? And that's the big
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That is the big difference.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know where it's going to land for me, but I'm having so much fun playing, and not, I don't really worry so much about like, is it flattering? Like I'm looking at like, is it visually pleasing? Like, does it flow? Does it have harmony? But that's different to me than is it flattering? Because flattering to me is coded as like, do I look smaller?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, and like, I'm not worrying about that as much anymore. Like, I don't need to look small. I don't need to take up less space. That is this part of the male gaze to me.
Yes, absolutely. And part of what you learned,
Yeah. And
part
so
of your,
also like playing with like sizes and shapes, like I would never wear oversized clothing when I was really like within that male gaze. And now like oversized clothing is fun. And like, it's a way to kind of play with, yeah, a different silhouette. Right. And maybe it makes me look a little bigger because you can't see just how thin my waist is in the oversized clothing, but it creates cool shapes. And then it like creates that contrast. And again, it comes back to like being about creative expression and art than about like, how do I look like I'm taking up less space and am therefore more pleasing?
Yeah. So it's a real shift in your relationship really to clothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I've been watching you, I've been watching you go through it and kind of start really thinking about it and spending time kind of thinking about proportions and things like that and colors and what mixing things and whatnot. So it really does feel very much like this personal creative expression of yourself coming out through clothing.
Yeah. It feels that way. It does. And like, I kind of like, it's so funny because like, I don't really care as much what other people think of my clothing choices anymore. I'm more interested in like, what do I think about it? Do I like this? Does this excite me? Does it make me feel confident? Do I walk out the door and think like, fuck yeah, I look good? And if that's true, then I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And like, probably a lot of people don't like what I'm wearing, and that's okay.
Right.
I will
So it's
say, on the other hand, though, that I went to an event the other night and this woman who had like, she was just like so fabulously dressed in like layers and textures. And like, I mean, her outfit was wild, but in the most artistic way. And she came up to me and complimented my outfit. And that felt like such a win. I was like, oh my God, game recognizes game. I win. It was like so fun. It just felt like, not in like oh, I need approval, but like, oh my God, someone else who's like doing artistic expression sees my artistic expression.
yeah, I'm being seen and also like this is me. Like I'm spending time creating this thing that is now being seen, not in a male gaze way, not in a compulsory femininity way, but just in like appreciation,
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
which
Exactly.
is so fun and does feel good. To be
Yeah.
seen feels so good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we'll see where it goes. Like today I'm wearing like a kind of oversized, like, button up shirt and then like a sweater over it and some oversized pants. But then I also, when I went out, I was wearing these like high heels that are like this bright floral leather. Like they're very kind of like add like both a feminine touch and like this wild kind of touch to it because they're like loud shoes. And I love that too, like some of my pieces look a little more like menswear. Some of my pieces are oversized. And then I have this like very pop of wild feminine color and energy in the heel. I love that. I love playing like that.
It's so fun. I'm loving watching you.
Yeah, I know. I've been sending you a lot of my outfits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
So I guess what we're really synthesizing here is just that once you are able to exit these conditions that we were brought up under in terms of like what was pleasing for other people or like, having to dress a certain way for the male gaze or like accentuating your good parts or like whatever this crazy shit was that we
Yeah.
were taught,
Yeah.
that once we're able to exit that, clothing can just become like an outward expression of who you are. And how fun is that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like it becomes, yeah, an art project or like a way to like express through art and color and texture, like who you are in the world.
Yeah. And for you, does it have like a queerness for you to it? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely does. I mean, I feel like back when I was dressing more like in that old way, it was just like so basic and boring and simple and safe. And now there's like an edginess to what I wear and like a tension in a lot of my clothing that does feel to me more queer. And I used to always be worried, like, oh, I don't read as queer. Nobody knows I'm queer, and I'm worried about that less. And I don't know necessarily that I read as more queer, but I think I probably do a little bit because I'm dressing A, more authentically, and B, it's like a little more edgy and it's a little more like out there and it's a little more challenging the norms of how women are supposed to dress. And I think that alone is kind of queer coded.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. I have one more question for you. I remember it was like 2 months ago where you just started having this feeling of like, I need to start creating my expression through my clothing. Like there was something that happened because it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
You were really thinking about it a lot, or really talking about it a lot. Like what was happening then for you in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot of factors. One is like it was the changing of the seasons, which is always a really triggering time for me because it's like I have to change out my wardrobe and I'm confronted again every year with like I don't really like my clothes. I don't like how they fit. I don't feel like me in my clothes. And so like every new season I'm confronted with that again. And so that was there. And I think it really came up like much more extremely because I did this like 2 week trip to Japan and I brought like 4 dresses with me and that was it. And so I was just wearing them over and over and over again. And like I got so sick of them and I had so much time to think about all the ways in which they weren't me and they didn't work for me because I was just wearing them on repeat. And so, yeah, I just came home and was like, something's got to give. I don't want to do this every year. I don't want it to be a new season and for me to look at my closet and be like, none of this stuff feels like me. I guess I'm going to like find the 2 or 3 outfits that are acceptable and then rotate through them for the whole season and then hope that maybe next season magically I'll find clothes that feel like me.
Okay, you were done with that. You're like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just was like felt like a breaking point. Like this is getting so old. I don't have to do this anymore. And I think it took a commitment too, because like it doesn't happen overnight, it actually takes work, like really thinking about like what do you like? What does give you joy? And then like playing, like, I mean, this because I send you pictures and videos all the time, but like I play dress up a lot where I'm like trying different things with different things, trying different combinations and like seeing, and some of it's like, this isn't quite right and trying to figure out why. So it's like, it is a little bit of a commitment of time and energy to like
Yeah, but it's
do
so
it.
fun. It's
It's so
so
fun.
fun. Like I remember, I'm listening to you and like I remember those days when I used to do that,
Yeah.
where I would like go into my closet and I'd like try on things and find different outfits. And it was just like a way to spend a few hours creatively.
Yes.
And I don't know, probably since I got into my 50s, I've just been like, I don't know, kind of like whatever, like I'm just wearing this, uh, and I lost that fun.
Maybe. I mean, sure, maybe there's an element of that, but I also think that you've been at this for so long that you have such a deeply ingrained sense of your personal style. Because I know you talk about like, oh, I just throw things together. I don't really think about it, but like you always look stylish. Like you look good, like I always think your outfits look great and like so you. And some of it may be like, I'm sure you would still have fun if you like played and stuff, but I wonder how much of it is like you've done this work for so long and really come into your own. And it's almost like you don't even see it anymore because it's just, muscle memory. It's just part of like intuitively what feels like you and what looks, what feels right when you put it on your body and your style.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But it's been so many years. I'm listening to you talk about it and I'm like, oh God, I wish I was still doing that. It's fun. I really would have so much fun and just going out and thrifting and finding new little things to add in here and there, like brought me so much joy. Like there was so much expression in it.
Yes.
Watching
Yeah.
you go through it now, I'm like, I want to do it too. And I have been a little bit. I've been also, right? I mean, you sent me something and then I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. And I
Yes.
sent my version of it. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's funny.
It's so fun. Yeah. Yeah. And like it is the thrifting is like a treasure hunt, and like, finding something new. And how am I going to incorporate this? I don't know yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been fun to kind of have you walk alongside me and kind of dip into parts too. I've been loving it.
Yeah. Well, so for anyone out there listening, it's doing the work and letting go of the conditioning and just finding ways to start to kind of let your clothes come like from inside of you out, like they're an expression of what's happening on the inside. And like, what does that look like? It's kind of like a blank canvas and you can make it whatever feels right to you.
Yeah. And like tuning
Yeah.
into like what's joyful,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't
Yeah.
feel joyful, like you don't have to wear it.
Right. And that's a great theme for the holidays and it's going to be New Year's Eve. So Heidi and I are here to encourage you to find joy in your outfit, in your clothing, have it really be an expression of you, let go of what, you're supposed to be wearing and what everybody else is wearing and what you've been taught to wear, and just wear something that really expresses what's authentic to you.
Yeah, I love that. What an amazing holiday message. So good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this with me, Heidi.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Can't wait for next time. We'll see. Who knows what we'll talk about next?
Exactly. Okay. Love you. Talk soon.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?